Hello and welcome to Stan's 360 World, Stan's 360 Fluky channel. I know this is not a 360 video. This is not normally the type of video I post on my page. For one, I'm driving and doing this, but I haven't had a whole lot of time to post stuff lately, if you've noticed on my channels. Been driving, doing a lot of stuff. But anyhow, with the encouragement of quite a few people, I've decided I need to put out a video that helps explain something. Protesting. Y'all doing it wrong, okay? So, what this is in my life, I have done a few things. I'm not an active protester. I don't like the concept as much. I'm not too involved with politics, not currently, but I have been. And so, I know the process. I know people that do actively work in Congress, lobby, have protest, and on a local level, I am somewhat involved, as is my family to an extent. So I have some experience with this, and I wanted to share with you guys protesting, what's wrong, what you're doing wrong. So, if you want your voice to be heard, number one, vote. If you don't vote, your voice isn't heard, just in general. So let's assume you vote, okay? Now, everybody's always focused in on voting for president and maybe governor, stuff like that. But the important part of voting is what's down below the fancy names, the measures, the propositions. That stuff that happens locally, that stuff you really can affect. Make sure you vote on that stuff, okay? Voting's done. Protesting. You're doing it wrong. Why? Because walking through the streets, especially in a town that is not a political town. So if you're not I'm in California, so if you're not in Sacramento, or if you're not in Washington, D.C., if you're not in your state capital, I don't consider that a political town. San Francisco, they like to be political. Oakland, Berkeley, L.A., I get that. I get all of that. But they are really not political towns. The politicians are only there part-time. And that's the ones we need to work with, the actual representatives. So when you're out protesting, what are you doing wrong? One, you're protesting in the wrong place, okay? So just walking through, let's pick San Francisco, just because, yeah. Say you're walking through San Francisco and you're with 1,000 other people. Everybody there probably agrees with what you're protesting on. So you're not convincing people, maybe not everybody, but many of them. You're in a like-minded city. The other thing is the chance of that protest becoming violent or destructive is very high. And once you become destructive on a protest, you kind of lose your argument. What happens there is the people that are not part of the protest, that then look and watch the protest on TV, which I'll get to, they just look at it and go, man, these people are just not doing anything good. Whether they agree with your issue or not, you lose some of your ground. Okay, so on TV, I said I'd get back to that. What you're really doing at these large protests, the news media loves to put this on TV because it's interesting. We're waiting for something to turn violent, and it gets really interesting at that point. And all you're really doing is giving them coverage time and face time to sell their commercials. And that's it. So completely not what you're out there to do. You're out there to express your voice, and really you're being used to sell commercials. So, yeah, protesting, unless, I will caveat this, unless you're protesting something in San Francisco, or you're protesting a business where you can physically be around that business or be on the street by that business, then yes, protesting physically there is good. That works. Raising awareness at their location, that works. But for a ideology, for a political thing, not so much. So how do you affect change outside of voting? Okay, well, you have a representative. You have quite a few of them. You have On the local level, you have your city council, you have your mayor, your vice mayor, you have commissions. Also, then on the state level, we have a legislature, we have a governor, and then you have the federal level with your two houses there as well and your representatives there. So what you need to do is you need to get to know who your representatives are in each of these levels, because you can affect them differently. On your local level, going to your city council meetings is helpful. Knowing what the issues are. You can then meet with your city council members. You can meet with your mayor, and they sometimes have some staff that you can reach out to as well. But I've had sit-down lunches with a few of the mayors in my little town. Now, I do live in a small town in the Bay Area of California, so it not a huge population. But I have been able to do that. Some of them are my life mentors, prior mayors. And so I touch base with them quite regularly for other reasons. But also, it's a small community. In my case, some of the city council members have been my Boy Scout troop leaders. So I've been able to reach out to them, parents of classmates, stuff like that. So local level is easy to reach out to. And you can express your opinions on streets, on taxes, on water prices, on garbage collection, things that really matter to your day-to-day life. Okay, so now you go to the next level. You've got your state legislature. Those representatives are a little harder to get, and of course, when you go nationally, they're a little harder to get a hold of. They do have legislature days that you can go and visit their office and share your opinion. They have staff members that review things that come in, and you can work with them. And same thing happens on the national level. They have more staff members. So, outside of driving to your state capital, how can you affect change at home with this representative? Let me start at the bottom of the list. They do not pay attention to Twitter. They ignore that. Facebook, they ignore that. They just delete the negative stuff. They don't respond to Facebook. It doesn't pertain to them. That's not it. Okay? One, you have to be their constituent. This is very important. If you're not their constituent, if you're not in their district or their area, they're not going to pay attention to you. You have to talk to your representative, okay, or their office. Email. You can email them, but most emails are a form email. They also have, Outlook rules that will consolidate, I am pro this, I'm against that. And so they will consolidate your emails, and they won't actually read each and every email most of the time. So email doesn't help a whole lot. Well, how about if you write a letter? Okay, well, that's better than email, but it can't be a form letter. They do take those, they put those in a stack, and they calculate those up, but they're just form letters. You didn't do anything. If you handwrite a letter, they will read that a little bit more than they will read a form letter. So all this just kind of gets into the mix, Stan? No, there is one other thing you can do. You can pick up the phone and call them. Now, the problem for them on their side with phone calls is the phone has to be answered, or a voicemail has to be listened to. So when you call in, you actually get to talk to somebody. If you don't get to talk to somebody, you can at least leave a voicemail, and that is then transcribed. That cannot be ignored. So call your representatives. If you want to take it another level, of course, go visit them. Or if it's something in your community you really want them to address, you can ask if one of their staff members would come do a field trip, spend a day with you, and you can show them the issue that you're having in your community. And so, that's some things that you can do. Now, all of this takes planning. All of this takes time and effort. The other thing that's important to this that makes it even more planning and time is if you just call in and say, hey, I am pro this. Hey, I am anti this. Great. That's all nice and everything, but nothing on that is coming up for a vote anytime soon. So why? What does it matter? Knowing what they're going to be voting on and looking at that and saying, hey, as somebody in your district, I would like you to vote yes on this bill or this whatever. That makes a big difference. If you know what's coming up and you call in and say, this needs to be voted yes on because this is happening in my community, your voice, really your voice, that makes a difference. Going to their office, same thing. It helps if you know what's coming up and you can suggest to them which way to go on that. It takes a lot of work. So, how can you go with less effort but still have your voice heard, kind of something in between protesting and showing up and becoming a lobbyist? What can you do in between? Find nonprofits that lobby or support the things that you support. Contact them. Ask them what they need. Mostly it's money, and rightfully so. They need money to operate and hire their lobbyists and support the communities that they're supporting. But this allows you a little bit more single-focused and be able to help one organization or two organizations achieve some of your goals that you want to make happen. So that's the way to properly protest, is find that organization and support it. And if they're holding a protest, then go to that protest. But mostly it's going to be monetary or time to get the word out, maybe sign signatures for petitions, stuff like that. That's the best step without having to get too hands-on involved with your representative or your council members or whatnot. So there you go. I hope this helps you. I hope this helps understand some of the process, because I'm saddened to see so many people out there protesting on so many different topics, and all they're doing is selling commercials, and it really saddens me that they don't know the process, and they think they're making change, and they're just making noise and making profits for other people. So there you go. I know this is very different from my other things on my Fluky, but Fluky means random, and this is pretty random. So there you go. So my random thoughts for the day. Share this as you will. Let it out there. You can comment back. I may or may not respond to your comments, but I hope this helps you, your friends, your family think a little bit more on how we have a voice in this country and in our local level. So there you go. And with that, keep exploring your world. There's a lot out there to see. Take care.